Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I'll be talking about the High Republic series, which is maybe my favorite thing that Star Wars has done in recent years. Since I review a lot of the books on this channel, often I get asked questions about if I'm interested in starting, where should I start, is everything required, are there things I can skip? And I have a feeling that questions are going to be asked even more as later this year we have the first live action addition to the High Republic series with the Acolyte series, which I think is going to get a lot of people into the High Republic that maybe typically do not read Star Wars books or comic books and stuff like that, that are previously were just unaware of the High Republic even existing. I think this series is going to get a lot of people interested with it. And that is going to be a lot of questions like, well, where should I start? What should I read? Are there, again, things I should skip and stuff like that? So I thought it was time I should do a video with my own personal recommendations on what I would recommend for somebody checking out the High Republic. First, before I kind of get into my specific recommendations, I think it's a good idea to kind of summarize what is the High Republic. So I'm specifically going to read something from the Star Wars High Republic character Encyclopedia, because I think it does a really good job of summarizing what the High Republic era is all about. So I apologize for just reading in a video, because I know that's not the most exciting thing in the world. But there's a couple paragraphs here that I'd like to read that I think does a great job of just summarizing what the High Republic is. The High Republic era, approximately 500 to 100 years before the fall of the Republic, is a golden age of progress. The Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order work together as explorers and peacekeepers, heading ever further into the deepest reaches of the galaxy to help those in need. It is a time of industry and splendor. The Republic and the Jedi work together to build the space station Starlight Beacon, which stands as a glorious testament to this period of cooperation and prosperity. The Jedi Order builds outposts in far-flung regions where it believes its presence can make a difference. Much of the galaxy is still undiscovered by the Republic, and dangers from the unknown are hard to foresee. Pirates and mercenaries attack remote communities and travelers. Criminal organizations such as the Hutts wield great influence in areas under their control. And groups such as the mysterious Path of the Open Hand and later the chaotic and ruthless Nihil seek to gain power by attacking the Jedi Order. So there's several things about this concept that I really enjoy. First is exploring this golden age of the Jedi Order and the Republic. When we see the Jedi and the Republic in the prequels, obviously at the prequel point, the Republic is obviously in complete disarray. The political operation is breaking down. Things are just not working well. And we also get allusions to that the Jedi Order is at a weakened state. That's part of the reason it is explained to us that they're now able to sense the rise of Palpatine, because the Jedi Order is just not functioning the way they should anymore, and they're kind of a lessened state than their golden age. So it's very cool to kind of see what the Jedi were like at this point, and then compare it to what we see the Jedi like in the prequel movies, and go like, this is how much the Jedi Order's changed. You can definitely see things that have changed that kind of weakened them as a organization. And same thing with the Republic. So I'm really fascinated by exploring that concept. I also love the aspect of where they talk about this is kind of like an age of exploration for the Jedi and the Republic. That was one of my things about the Star Wars movies and kind of the Skywalker era that I wasn't the biggest fan of. Is like, it seems like everything's been discovered, and everything's kind of well known. All the planets are kind of mapped out, well connected. Beyond the stuff in the unknown region, but the unknown region is so kind of cut off from the rest of the Star Wars galaxy that it's almost like it's not really even part of the real world. So I love the settings of these books where you're having people like blaze a hyperspace path that's connecting parts of the galaxy that have never been connected to the rest of the galaxy before. The Republic expanding into new areas, the Jedi meeting new people, new species, new concepts. I absolutely love that idea. But with all that stuff, again, it's been fascinating to kind of see the little seeds that are being planted that will eventually lead to the downfall of the Jedi and lead to the downfall of the Republic. Another thing I really love about the concept of the High Republic is we're getting to meet all new characters, all new concepts, where, the one downside of dealing with stuff in the Skywalker saga is like so much stuff is interconnected. So even if it's a book or TV show or movie that's not directly related to the Skywalkers, they're somehow connected. So there's elements in The Mandalorian, even though like there's not a Skywalker in The Mandalorian, we're still having things popped up that has been in other Star Wars content. So like Bo-Katan, for example, and various Imperial officers, and just little things that, you know, connect it to the wider Star Wars storyline that we were already familiar with, and everything just feels connected. And you're always expecting, like, well, is this the episode where a certain character that I've loved in another book or movie is going to pop up? But at the same time, it kind of weighed it down where you felt like there was some things they could just never do because so much stuff has already been established. Well, by going back, you know, over 500 years, you know, it's an open playbook. They can do whatever they want to. So it's very exciting to kind of read these books and see how the storyline develops with really having no idea what's going to happen. And meeting all new characters. I think one thing that's really cool about the High Republic series, it doesn't really rely on you having any other knowledge about Star Wars. Honestly, you could have never seen a Star Wars movie, watched a Star Wars TV show, read a Star Wars book. I think you could jump into the High Republic series and not be lost and really enjoy it. Whereas, as somebody like me who reads all the Star Wars books, if you were randomly picking up a book, for example, about Grand Admiral Thrawn that is set in the era that we're usually dealing with, like a non-Star Wars person would read that book and some of the stuff just wouldn't necessarily make sense to them. Would it connect to them? Doesn't mean a Star Wars fan can't love it, because I love the Thrawn books. But like the first book in this series, Light of the Jedi, I think it does not rely on you having any knowledge of Star Wars for you to enjoy that book. And I think that's very cool, very amazing. I'm very impressed with how they were able to pull that off. So with that being said, you know, the basic concepts I think I just outlined of what the High Republic is, what I kind of generally like about. Now, how would I recommend you go about starting the High Republic series? All right, so now my personal recommendations on how to proceed with exploring the High Republic. And again, this is my own personal recommendations. You might check out some other videos on YouTube where people give you slightly different recommendations, but from my personal experience of reading a lot of High Republic content, if somebody just came to me and asked, Kyle, how would you suggest I start exploring the High Republic? This is the basic stuff I would give them. First off, to kind of explain something, the books and this High Republic in general has been divided up into 3 phases. So phase 1 that started the High Republic series is actually set about 250 years before the Battle of Yavin, and it covers about 10 to 13 years. And sorry, the reason I'm looking down, I still have the Encyclopedia in front of me, so I'll make sure I get the dates right. Phase 2, the second phase of the High Republic series, is actually a prequel. They go back to about 500 years before the events of the Battle of Yavin and cover about 100 years. It's kind of an interesting decision for the series, you know, a new series that they do this wave of books and then they immediately decide to do a prequel. I was a little skeptical when I found about that, but I think now that we're very deep into it, I think that was actually a pretty cool and interesting decision. Phase 2 has been completed, so we're now started phase 3, and we go back to after the events of phase 1, basically immediately after the events of phase 1. So we're right back with the characters that we got to know and love in phase 1 of the High Republic series. So we're early in the stages of phase 3. The Acolyte will actually be set, I believe, if I remember correctly, about 100 years after the event of phase 3. So it will involve different characters for the most part than what has been mentioned in the previous phases of the High Republic, but there'll be a few little characters, notably Vernesta Rowe, which has quickly become one of the more popular characters of the High Republic series, that will be involved. But I think the way it's been explained is that if you want to watch the Acolyte and you haven't read any High Republic stuff, you won't be lost. But it'll probably just add to your enjoyment a little bit if you have read the High Republic series. I think honestly what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to watch the Acolyte, fall in love with it, and go like, I want to check out some more High Republic stuff. So that being said, like, how should I start? Well, easiest thing, start with the first book of phase 1, Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. This book, when I picked it up, actually blew me away. When I heard about the concept of the High Republic series, I was a little skeptical. I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to really get into this. I was like, I'll pick up the first book to see what it's like, and if I like it, I'll kind of check out the other books in the High Republic series. If I don't, no big deal, and I really won't explore this series within the Star Wars universe. This book absolutely blew me away. The first half of this book is so action-packed and so non-stop, I felt like I was riding a roller coaster. Forever, my favorite Star Wars book has been Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn, and I've never had a Star Wars book even come remotely close to what I felt about Heir to the Empire. this book is the first book I ever read where I go, I might like this as much as I did Heir to the Empire. This book is absolutely amazing. So I'd recommend starting with this. So the High Republic series, one thing they did that was really cool is there's adult novels, there's young adult novels, and there's middle school novels. And they even do like little kid books as well. And so basically they'll release kind of in little waves, and every wave will have one of each one. There'll be adult, young adult, middle school, and then, you know, there'll be a couple months break, and then they'll do the next wave. And there's usually 2 to 3 waves in each phase. So in the first phase of the High Republic series, there was 3 adult novels, 3 young adult novels, 3 middle school novels. So when I first heard that, I was like, well, I'll check out the adult novel, and then, you know, if I get that, I'll read the other adult novels. I think after I read the second adult novel, I was like, I'm enjoying this series so much, I'm going to go back and read the young adult novels. And I enjoyed those so much, I actually read the middle school novels. Those are really interesting and really cool too. But I don't think you have to do that to really enjoy this series. So if you typically are just really into adult novels, read the adult novels. Start with A Lot of the Jedi and then go through the other adult novels in phase 1. Then go read phase 2 adult novels and then proceed on to phase 3. If you're getting really into the adult novels, I'd recommend that, you know, check out one of the young adult novels and see what you think. I think a lot of people, when they hear young adult, they're like, you know, am I really going to like that? I'm honestly surprised what they do in the young adult novels. They get very, very adult. More adult than I would expect typically to find in a young adult series. And they're absolutely amazing. Honestly, in some of the waves of the High Republic series, I've actually preferred the young adult novel over the adult novel. The middle school novels are really cool and very interesting as well. Like I said, Vernesta Rowe, which I mentioned, has become one of the more popular characters. Her story's primarily been told in the middle school novels, but she's also appeared in the young adult and the adult novels. But she's been kind of a focus of the middle school novels, especially in phase 1. So, like I said, I would start with A Lot of Jedi, you know, then check out the other adult novels. And if you're getting really hooked, then go back and kind of read the young adult novels that pair off with the adult novels, and maybe check out the middle school novels as well. I don't think you'll regret it. In addition to the books, they also do all sorts of comic books, and they also have done some of the audio dramas, which are very interesting. I'm not a big audio book person, so I tried to listen to the first audio drama, and that's just not how I enjoy a story. But for those audio dramas, they've actually published them later as a book where you can basically read the script, and I've really enjoyed them that way. I've only read one of the High Republic comic book series, and I really enjoyed the one I did. It was about Porter Engle, which is another one of the more popular characters that came out of this series, and I really enjoyed it. The reason I haven't read others is just like, it's just so much that I've decided, like, you know, I'm deciding, you know, I want to read other stuff beyond Star Wars, so I've decided to skip the comic book stuff. And also, I've never really been a big comic book person. I think at some point I've enjoyed the High Republic so much, I might go back and read some of the comics. Because the people that have actually said they are amazing. In some cases, they prefer the comic books over the novels. I think the great thing they've done with the High Republic series is, depending on what you enjoy, you can stay in that lane, read that, and not feel like you're lost. So if you only want to read the adult novels and you never mess with the young adult stuff, you never read the middle school novels, you never read the comic books, you won't feel lost. Like I said, I haven't read 99% of the comic books. There's a few times where a character will be introduced and it's clearly they're alluded to, like, oh, something has happened with them. So you know something has happened to them, but at the same time, it doesn't make you lose the plot and make you feel like you're missing out on something. It's a little extra layer of enjoyment you get if you do know what they're alluding to. Same way, like I think with the other books, if you can actually go, like, if you're more into young adult, just read the young adult novels, and I think you'll still get a lot out of this series. In some ways, it's like you choose your own adventure with the High Republic series. You can be a completionist and go after everything, or you can kind of do a very narrow lane and still enjoy the storyline a lot. So in addition to that stuff that I just mentioned, one thing I definitely wanted to highlight, and I've already alluded to one, there's a couple kind of reference books within the High Republic series that I've really enjoyed a lot. First off was this very cool book, The Art of the High Republic, which is actually amazing. If you're a big Star Wars fan, you're probably aware they use these art of books, usually for the TV shows and movies. There's some absolutely beautiful artwork in this. I really enjoyed it a lot. But one thing I really love about this book that added to a lot to my just overall appreciation of Star Wars is how much concept art for other Star Wars projects in the past inspired elements of the High Republic. It's really much reading this book is like going down a history book of like the creation of Star Wars. Throughout this, it references, you know, ships, characters, species, concepts that were kind of came up with for like the original movies, the prequel movies, you know, whatever. And for some reason, they just weren't used. And as the High Republic series was being created, and you know, they were kind of looking for ideas and concepts. Sometimes they'd have an idea and they'd feel like, oh, you know, I think we've had something like that in the Ark, and they'd find this ship and they're like, oh, this is cool. Let's tweak it a little bit and make it work for the High Republic. So you're getting like a very cool trip down Star Wars history and seeing how it actually ended up, you know, not being used, but then later used and made awesome in the High Republic. So if you like Star Wars art, if you like exploring the history of how Star Wars is created and the various inspirations behind how Star Wars is created, I really recommend that. If you're into the High Republic series, and one thing you kind of feel like after a while is like, I'm having a hard time keeping track of all these characters. One thing, the High Republic series, these books, they have a lot of characters. So as I've been already quoted from a couple times already, they came with this really cool character encyclopedia that is just chock full of various characters. And basically, when you go down, it'll kind of give you a very, you know, general summary, just like an encyclopedia listing. Like, this is the general background of this character. This is the first book this character was introduced in. This is who they're affiliated with. You know, they are a Jedi. They're a member of the Path of the Open Hand. I just did finish reading this book, so I'm very excited for the next time I read a High Republic series, and there's a character they introduce. It's like, I think I remember this character, but I can't really remember their backstory. Going back and pulling up this encyclopedia and go like, oh yeah, that's who it is. Because that is one thing that is a little bit of a challenge. There is so many characters. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge keeping track. I would compare it to like if you got into Game of Thrones, and that's one thing people would mention, like they'd be watching that series and there'd be a character that pop up. They're like, I think this character, I last saw them like 2 seasons ago, or if you read the books like 2 or 3 books ago, I don't really remember much about them, and you try to remember, and then, you know, something would happen to the character, and by the time you remembered, they were already gone again. There is a little bit of the High Republic series. So if you're really reading the books, I would recommend checking out the encyclopedia. I think it will really help with your enjoyment in the series. So that's kind of my general stuff. I know, like I said, you know, some people have wondered, like, should I start with Phase 2 of the High Republic series, to set as a prequel and go like Phase 2 and then go Phase 1 and then go back to Phase 3? I wouldn't recommend that. I think you enjoy Phase 2 more if you've read Phase 1 first. If you're thinking of watching The Acolyte and you're like, do I really need to read the High Republic stuff? If you're really into reading Star Wars books and you want to read a few, you know, before the Acolyte comes out, I think it'd be really cool, but like, I don't think it's required. So if you're a little on the fence, you know, maybe wait till you see the Acolyte and then go like, all right, do I like this concept, this world they're exploring? Maybe then you go back and explore the overall High Republic series. If anything, I'd recommend looking into what books Vernesta Rowe has been in, and maybe reading some of those, since we do know she will be a character in the Acolyte. But if like this all sounds interesting and you're just kind of curious, should I get into this? Check out The Light of the Jedi, the first book. Read it. If you read it and it's not for you, so be it. But if you read it and go like, oh wow, this is amazing, which is the reaction I had, I think that might be the first step for you to explore the overall High Republic series and see if it becomes one of your favorite Star Wars things ever, like it has for me, because I absolutely love the High Republic series. I'm so excited we're getting a live action series in it. I'm really hoping that we'll get some more exploration of this era and movies, TV shows, animated series, more books, more comics, all that type of stuff, because I absolutely love the High Republic era of Star Wars. So in the comment section below, if you have any questions about the High Republic series, let me know. I'd be glad to try to answer them if I can. If I can't, I'll maybe point you in directions where you can get that info from people that are even more knowledgeable about the High Republic series than I am. But hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found this info interesting. I know this is kind of a longer video than I typically do. I might have rambled a little bit at a few spots. So hopefully you found it interesting and informative, and maybe it will inspire you to explore the High Republic series. So that being said, please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. If you have yet, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time, and may the Force be with you.